I'm going to start with a big brush, and you can do this step with either a big brush or the round one, and we're going to do both to see the difference. Let's start with a big brush, green paint, and first we are creating the direction of our branch. So for example, this one is going from here all the way down here past the horizon line, crossing the horizon line all the way into the ocean. If your ocean is still a little wet, we might need to give it a minute to dry so that we're not blending this dark green paint with white. So I'm actually going to start with this guy to let this part dry a bit. The direction going from here, there's the curve. I can still see the line a little bit going into here, kind of right in front of the bird. Okay, so that's my the rib of the palm tree, I guess, of the branch. And from this point, we're going to start just pulling some of this leaves, whatever details out like that. So I'm going with my big brush. I turned it sideways, the chiseled edge. I start from that main rib, touch, push, pull, lift up, touch, pull, lift off. So it's like that's how you create that wispy, nice, interesting edge of that that looks like a separate leaf. So let's fill it up. Now I don't want to lose all the pretty blue background, so be mindful of that. Do leave some of those spaces in between. We can even put some, something sticking out on the other end as well. There you go. One leaf is ready, one color. We're going to be applying more shades on top of it later. Let's work on the next one. Let's work on this side because it's dry. Same idea, starting from here, going all the way down. Now in this case, I like to create layers, and so I put this leaf kind of behind my bird. I'll show you how to do that, and we might lose a little bit of the head, so we will be painting it over later. Let's do it. So there's the main rib going this way, and now we're going to start pulling the leaves out this direction. I'm going to go more careful around the head, maybe like that, not covering much. Whatever, if I did get there, I can go back and just paint it white first to prepare it for the pink, but something like that. So it creates some layers. Now the other side, same way, pulling out those leaves. Get very close to the neck like that, and then let's see, maybe a little bit sticking out on this end. Let's see, the direction would be like this, from like behind it. Okay, just an indication, doesn't need to be perfect, but we know that it looks like something is in there. Bushier, I want to make it bushier. Nice. Next one is going to be hanging down this way. And I want to, that's the little part that I want to bring out here to create an illusion that it's really behind the bird. But I'll do that later when this white is dry. Let's just work on the bunch of leaves here. So I'm going to push them past this line just to keep it looking natural. And then I'll go over with some white to fix it later. Okay, let's make it bushier. Nice. And the next one is going here. And I do want to bring it past the horizon line. Breaking the horizon line with other elements of the design is always a good idea. That looks nicer than if you have just this divider that splits the space. There we go. See what we did? Just put it right past that line. All right, cool. So first layer is done. We can go here and see what happens. Still a little wet. The rib, the main direction, all the way down here. And now start pulling the leaves. So the big brush holds a lot of paint, And that's what allows us to make so many brush strokes with just this one brush with one load of paint in it. Always start from the root, from the center of the branch, pulling them out and lifting off so it has a nice wispy, that nice skinny end. Okay. All right, next step, we're going to introduce a slightly darker tone of this green. So let's grab some more green on the brush and a little bit of blue into it. Mix them together and it creates this nice dark tone of green. With that color, let's go right over our branches here and there, just adding a little bit of different tone. Let's do a bit more blue. Bit more green, nice and dark, and just adding a few things here and there. All right, can you see how we already have some interesting definition? Looks cool. Let's put a little bit more on this side. Kind of creating a shadow, or the parts that are in the shadow. Now we have our mid-tone, we have our darker tone, and the next step is going to be adding some highlights. Let me just put a couple of more darker parts right here. Okay, so now we want to put some highlights, and we're going to do that with yellow. At this point, I'm wiping off my brush on the paper towel. And let's go into our bright green. I like to do this when the paint is still somewhat wet. This way parts of it are going to be blending, creating that another shade of green, and parts are going to be more pronounced, and it's all cool. So some are going in this direction, some are going in this direction. Let's look at it. Looking nice. Looking nice. So maybe let's try to put more of the, of this brighter color on the parts that are not covered with the darker green color, just to kind of separate those two things and make it one more of a highlight and the other one more of a shadow. But still, a couple of yellow on the shadow side will look nice too, especially now when the paint is still wet. On the shadowy side, it's going to be blending with my yellow, creating another tone. There we go. Look at it. It's already popping. Later on, when it's dry, we can add more yellow and it will be more contrasting. So creating that extra pop of color. This is such a fun part. Just a few right here, a few here. Oh yes, and this green part that I want to put past the birdie, let's do that. So let's do green, and we'll just pull out just a little bit. So let's see, if it goes this way, my branch is kind of a little, went a slightly different way. Okay, so it's going to be this way. I'm going to pull it this way and just put a few of these things right there, kind of just sticking out there. All right. This is going to be covered. This is going to be painted, so only this little tail sticking out here. Okay, looking good. You know what? I think I'm pretty happy. There's just one thing that I want to add, and that's going to be another highlight. You see, I like to use the same colors between the background and the main object, so it ties it all together and it looks very, what's the word? I don't know. It looks nice. So a little bit of yellow here from the palm tree, a little bit of blue from the ocean in the leaves. And now let's add a little bit of this teal into both leaves and flamingo. It is unexpected, but looks pretty. Let's pick up some green and some teal. So now it makes this green color with just a hint of that teal. And we can apply a few brush strokes here. We can do it with a round brush, or we can use our big brush. This is just what I have in my hand right now, and that's what we're going for. Let's add more paint, create a bit more of this color, and add more of these accents. Mostly on the shade side, but a little bit on the highlights. Just sprinkle it in there. Sprinkle some of this beautiful color. A little bit here, a little bit there. Not hiding all my previous colors, but rather just adding. And that's it.